What's up, everyone? Welcome to the most positive pop culture podcast in the multiverse, Metalcore Nerds, where each episode I have a guest from the podcasting and music community, and we talk about the latest and greatest in entertainment. I'm your Sean Mott, and today we're talking about James Gunn's Superman. My co-host this week is Steve of Within the Ruins. Welcome to the show.
How's it going, brother? Thanks for having me on.
Very stoked to have you here. Very stoked to talk Superman and kind of this new beginning of this new DC that is very much kind of overtaking the world right now. It's an exciting
Man,
time.
it's very exciting. Like where to even start? There's so much to talk about. Yeah, this is a really exciting time, man. I kind of just got chills when you said it. It's like this is just such a nice fresh start for DC, but like the way that not to dive in head first, but maybe this movie is such a breath of fresh air.
100%. That's a very important thing that we're definitely going to dissect in just a second. And of course, whether you return to the show or a first time listener, thank you so much for checking out the show. Best thing you can do, subscribe wherever you're watching or listening. And while you're there, if you're listening to this on your favorite podcasting platform, hit that 5-star review button. Helps more people find the show, helps the show continue to grow. If you are a Daily Fix Metalcore Nerds, you can find us on all social media at Metalcore Nerds. Now, before we get into the new rendition of Superman, I want to know what got you into Superman as a character, or even kind of comic book type characters in general. Like, what is your pop culture origin story when it comes to that stuff?
When I was a kid, I'm a really big Batman fan. That's my main thing is Batman. So I think, and like my not even just favorite superhero movie, but like favorite movie of all, like my number one is the Batman '89 with Michael Keaton and Jack
Okay.
Nicholson. That is my movie. I've got VHS, I've got a steel book, watch it all the time. And I think that just when you're a kid, you like something like, yeah, look at it. Mine's way over in another room, otherwise I'd grab it. But it's a nice, like, it's got faded on the corners and stuff, so you can tell it's old, not like a remake or anything. It's an old one. So seeing a movie like that though when you're a kid is a little jarring. It's because it's real dark and you don't appreciate every little detail, but seeing some like certain scenes like that Jack Nicholson would do sticks with you, and I think that's what happened to me. And then all of a sudden, next thing you know, like I'm seeing all the characters that get connected, and one of the first ones that you're going to come across is Superman. So he's connected. He's right there, arguably the biggest superhero of all. So you're going to come across him. So, and I think you can't really help but also in that time, like you're growing up watching these things on TV, you're going to come across Christopher Reeve Superman. So that's going to be on, and of course I saw that, and I enjoyed it, but I just gravitated towards Batman. But then once you really dive in and grow with it, then all the characters kind of just fall in place. But I think that's kind of where it really started. And Superman was an easy go-to from there. Yeah.
James Gunn's Superman. So
Yeah.
at this point, we're recording it. It's been out for almost a week. Did
Oh
very
yeah.
well in the box office. It's the highest opening weekend for a solo Superman film of all time. I believe it was
Saw
James
that.
Gunn's highest opening of all time too,
I
which
think it
is
is. Yeah.
honestly very impressive because every superhero movie he's done has done very well besides the Suicide Squad, but that
Mhm.
one, it was in the mix of
In
COVID.
COVID, yeah. So streaming and
It got released same day on HBO Max, which it did very well on HBO Max. So it's that one you kind of can't count because there's a lot of asterisks with that one. If it
yeah,
was
yeah,
in a different time, I think it would have been a far different story.
yeah. Plus, there was the previous Suicide Squad, not that far before it. So people are probably like, "What is this? Why do I need to?" Like, no,
Exactly.
it was very different and much better.
Yesterday, the Tuesday numbers came in, and it's the highest Tuesday of 2025. I think it did 17
Is it?
million domestically, which so the word of mouth is helping. Obviously, the word of mouth has been insanely positive. Obviously, there's been some criticism, which is fine. Criticism does not mean it's not positive. I think a lot
No,
of people forget that.
no. And it's
But
still
I
subjective.
want,
Everything's subjective. It's art.
of
But
course,
so
everything is. But I wanted to know your general thoughts on the film, kind of maybe even what your expectations were going in, whether it's from previous incarnations of the character or
Mhm.
previous works from James Gunn. What was your outlook looking in? And then kind of what was your experience after you left the theater?
Oof, so many, so many, so many questions in a good way because I have thoughts on every one of them. I kind of just want to start it off by like I say give James Gunn the keys to the kingdom. That's where I'm going to start. The man knows what he's doing, and he has a solid track record with superhero films. And again, it's tough because superhero fatigue is a thing, and everyone's kind of like, we've just had Superman. What's DC doing? All this stuff, and it's like, yeah, but DC fumbled the ball real bad, and So it's as much as like you could say that they're way behind Marvel. Marvel's had their issues too the past
Of
handful
course.
of years.
Yep.
So I was actually really looking forward to this because of all that. And after seeing it, it's just such a breath of fresh air from the way that they did the character, through the colors, through the music, which we need to get to because those little bits of John Williams just hit so nice. Oh man, visually, I really liked the writing. It was kind of campy, corny, but like
Yeah.
it's kind of what's missing a little bit right now. And I will say that the one thing that I felt like DC and Warner Brothers were doing right was I actually really liked Henry Cavill as Superman. I thought he was
Same.
an amazing cast for that. And I really, some people were, and I could see this, I get it, because Superman is a very, how do I want to say this? He's a ver pretty well known for being a little bit more hopeful and upbeat. And you get this Henry Cavill, like he's very stoic and like old, and but I kind of liked it because it was a different take. I liked Man of Steel. Batman v Superman was okay. I didn't hate it because I liked the idea. We haven't had that before. Execution just was whatever. But I liked how strong and brooding he was, and not to drag my band into it too much, but on our latest record, Phenomena 2, I one of our singles was called The Last Sun. It's about comic book characters, and I wrote one for Superman, and it's because I was actually really attracted to. I kind of tried to humanize most of those characters, but the Superman one was really interesting because it's he's alone on a planet that's not his, and some people respect him, some people fear him, some people don't want
Yep.
him there, others think they need him, like he's a savior type character. And I liked that colder aspect from the Snyderverse Superman. I actually enjoyed that, but now that I've gotten that, it's out of my system, and I'm very welcoming to this new brighter, more upbeat, flawed, hopeful Superman. Yeah, I really couldn't have been more excited. I mean, there's a lot to touch on here, but those were my
Yes.
initial. I was excited for it. When I left the theater, I was just like, "That's how you Superman. That's that's how you Superman." And I loved it. So we could pick a direction to start going into, but those are my
Yeah.
initial thoughts going in and coming out. I was ready.
Similar to me as well. I grew up a Batman kid too. I had Batman
Mhm.
bed sheets. Like he still is my favorite superhero.
Yeah,
And I was always kind of not attracted to Superman. Like I didn't watch Smallville when I was younger,
I never watched it
and
either.
Henry Cavill was kind of my first Superman. And I
Mhm.
enjoyed Man of Steel. There was just certain parts of it I always didn't fully like, and it wasn't anything to do with the character. It's just the whole third act and Metropolis getting like pretty much obliterated. It's so
Yeah.
much to the point that it radicalizes Batman and Batman versus Superman to take on Superman because he let too many people die.
Hmm.
Insane and ridiculous and way too over the top for me. And then, obviously the tornado scene with Pa Kent that scene is terrible. The scene
Yeah,
is a
like
bad
and
scene.
just like
Yeah, not a good
okay,
scene.
yeah.
But overall, I like the movie a lot. And then I kind of started diving into the like comics lore and everything, and then really learning about the character, how it's obviously like a very big allegory for an immigrant story. It was created
Hmm.
by two people who were the first generation Americans. Their parents were immigrants. And then I saw My Adventures of Superman, which is an animated show on Adult Swim. And if you haven't, I would say it's one or two ways. Obviously, we're going to spoil the fuck out of this movie. So,
If you're
warning
watching this,
for
yeah,
that.
this is not for you if you haven't
Um,
seen the movie.
so, if you're looking for more Superman content, I would say
Mhm.
go check out My Adventures of Superman. There's two seasons out now, and I think a third season is coming this year. Jack Quaid actually voices Clark Kent
Oh,
slash
cool.
Superman.
He's having a
It's
moment, right?
really, really good. And that made me really kind of super fall in love with the character because it's a great like introductory to Superman as a whole. And they do some different things, kind of like what this movie does, where it kind of takes an amalgamation of like the lore of Superman as a whole,
Hmm.
kind of blends them all together. This was my most anticipated movie of the year, mostly because of James Gunn. I think James Gunn is easily the best comic book like adaptive creator there is ever. It just everything he's done has been great. Like there's
Yeah,
nothing below great. And you can't say that about every single person. I guess the Russos maybe,
yeah. Good
but
track record there too. But
James Gunn also has so much more. He's a writer and director. The Russos are just directors, and he's done both sides of the coin at this point. He's
yep.
definitely proven his mettle. So I had very high expectations, and then every trailer that came out, I just felt like they got better. as they came. I was like, wow. I was already stoked about this movie. Now I'm even more stoked about this movie, and I
Yeah,
just think it delivered on all cylinders. I do have a few like, and they're pretty minuscule criticisms
sure.
that we'll probably get into,
Mhm.
but I like to do my homework, and I just like listening to interviews anyway. So I was
Mhm.
listening to a ton of interviews around this,
I've been
and
watching a lot too. Yeah.
obviously we knew that James Gunn got fired from Marvel, then got rehired from Marvel. In
Mhm.
between, in the interim, he made the Suicide Squad, came back, and then did Guardians Volume 3,
The
and then
Guardians and
somewhere in the
the
middle of
Christmas
that,
special and
he ended up getting hired as the co-head of DC Studios. But what I didn't know is that after he got fired, and he got, because originally DC offered him Superman, and he's like, "No, I'm not doing that."
Mhm.
And then they're like, "Okay, what about the Suicide Squad?" And he goes, "Oh, that's actually interesting. Here's an idea." And then I got approved. And then, like, literally, like that day or the day after, he got hired back at Marvel. And when he talked to Kevin Feige, he was like, "Hey, I'm gonna come back and do this, but before I come back and finish the Guardians trilogy, I have to do this." And he's like, "Are you doing Superman for DC?" And he's like, "No, no, I'm doing the Suicide Squad." But it's crazy that like
it
it
turned
was like
into
almost like he
that.
was meant to do Superman, even though he thought
It's
he wasn't to.
yeah,
He
it's hard to
was.
feel it's hard to feel like that wasn't the case. It's hard to feel like he wasn't meant to do it because
Yeah.
but yeah, it's like you said, he wears a lot of hats and he's proven himself very capable and Superman's one of those ones. It's like the next Batman is going to probably be the next big thing that people are going to be like, don't fuck this up. Don't you
Yeah.
dare fuck this up because this is your starting point. You're off to a great start with Superman, but if you fuck up
Yeah,
Batman, you're going to lose people. So
for
it's
sure.
starting off. He's starting off at the top. I mean, and that's ballsy. That's really ballsy. And because he could have started soft. He could have kept some Suicide Squad stuff going. He could have just focused on Peacemaker. He could, any number of things. But he came out swinging, and he hit a home
Yeah,
run.
I saw some people call this movie safe, and I
It
can
is, but
kind of
mm,
get what they
I
mean, but
don't.
at the same time, there's pocket universes, and
Yeah, that's not
I
safe.
think the the ballsiest part about this movie is something that, like, I mean, obviously you can only really equate the two universes as like Marvel and DC, but I guess even if you think of like the boys and stuff like that, what this movie did, which I don't think anyone has done before, is thrust you into this world that's already full with so many heroes. It feels like a
Hmm.
lived in world already, and we are just like thrown into the chaos. I love
Yeah,
the opening, like pretty much like Star Wars esque title
yeah. The
scroll
the
with
scroll.
kind of
Yeah,
explaining things, because we don't need the Superman origin story
we
again.
don't
Most
need
people
another
know it.
origin. Yeah,
It it's like Spider-Man. We didn't need to see Tom Holland get bit by a spider. Same thing with the Robert Pattinson Batman. We didn't need to see his parents die again. We just don't need
yeah,
it. We don't need it
yeah.
anymore.
That was one of my big peeves with Batman versus Superman. Like, why did you throw that in?
Oh yeah.
I don't need that. Oh,
No.
we saw beads dropping on the ground and we heard a gun. Like, come on. I have
Don't need
89
it.
for that. I have 89 for
Yeah.
that. I don't, everyone knows these stories. And that's why I thought it was great that James Gunn also knows that like people have seen, along with that superhero fatigue line, people are familiar with these stories now by
Mm.
this point. They're familiar with how the movies work. And so he's trusting his audience to be like, you guys know all this. Or like, I'm not
Yeah.
trying to give you Superman at his peak. I'm not trying. You don't need that right now. You probably don't deserve that right now. But here's what you're gonna
Yeah.
get, and I trust you with the rest. And and I was having a conversation with a coworker the other day. He said his one of his complaints was that he's like Superman wasn't powerful enough. I'm like, you need to look at this with different glasses. He's not supposed to be. This is a world
Mhm.
that's barely been lived in. He's only been Superman for it's supposed to be a couple years, I think, right?
3 years.
Like he's
Yeah.
yeah, he's just starting. If we were given this overpowered Superman, where do you go from there? Where do you
Exactly.
go? Where's the character arc? Where's the story? Like you can't have that same character for four more movies and do anything with it. It's it's just different battles, different CGI monsters. What are you supposed to like give him? It was like in some ways playing it safe, but like you said, but some ways not. I don't think that we would have. I don't even know if we'd be having this conversation if we were given another Henry Cavill style Superman right now.
Yeah, it's not needed. And I know James said he wanted to focus on the man, not the super. We've gotten many
Hmm.
renditions of the super, but we needed to focus on the man. And I think he nailed it with with that for sure. And you're totally right. Like where do you, if you start at the top, you can't, there's no room to progress. There's no way
Yeah.
to go. And I know a lot of people are like, oh, I was expecting this movie to be more epic. And I'm like, I can understand your expectations with that for sure. But
Yeah.
again, if you start with epic, where do you go from there?
Where do you go? Because then you dumb him down. Now, I will say this. I think this is going to work. I think this is going to work if you look at Tom Holland's Spider-Man, bringing him back down to street level. I think is actually going to be really cool
For sure.
for all the upcoming stuff because it's like we've already done the outer space and everything. Like let's bring him back to the friendly neighborhood, right? I
Yep.
think starting here with Superman and building him, watching him go through all these trials and tribulations type thing, literally building this character. I think that's the longevity. That's where this should go, and thankfully is going. So, I mean, yeah, he could go smash through planets right now if we, but again, then what? Then what? So, yeah, I'm with you totally.
And I love that his kind of his weakness in this movie was kind of public perception. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Hmm.
It wasn't. Yeah, he did get defeated by the Hammer of Bravura, which, spoiler alert, is a clone of him.
Yeah,
So
yeah, that's
makes
yeah.
sense why
If
he could go
anything's
toe
gonna,
to toe with him.
yeah, if anything's gonna beat him, it's him. So come on.
So that makes perfect sense. But to
Hmm.
just show and dive into his humanity and be like, I was, his whole mission in life is he felt like he was sent there for a purpose to protect these people.
Hmm.
And for that to get taken away from him for a minute, and that's like his greatest downfall. That's like his all hope is lost moment, is being
Hmm.
like, what I thought I was sent here for is a lie. But then going to his parents and then being like, it doesn't matter what you thought your parents wanted for you. It's like who you are as a person. And I love that flip because it's
I
kind of
loved
the
that. That was
opposite
really, yeah.
in Man of
Hmm.
Steel. Like his Krypton parents are the ones that inspire him to save the Earth. But like, would it make more sense that the parents that raised him on Earth would be the inspiration for him to,
Hmm.
be a
Yeah,
good
because he
person and stuff like that?
doesn't really know his Kryptonian
Exactly.
parents. Like, so you don't. I like that because they do suck you in a little bit because you are worried. Like, oh no, is this going to be a twist on his origin? Maybe like you kind of get sucked into it a little bit of like, oh, did they really send him there for that? Is that how they're going to play this? And then he just has that quick conversation with his dad. And he's like, no, it's about you. I'm like,
Yeah,
that was nice.
very, very good stuff. One of my critiques of this movie
Okay.
is that so I loved how he differentiated Clark from Superman. I
Oh yeah.
love that
Mhm.
he's a big guy. He's like 6'4",
Six
6'5",
four, I think. Yeah,
obviously
6'4".
a built guy, but he looks like, blumbering and goofy and awkward as he is Clark. And I
Hmm.
just wanted more of Clark
I wanted more
because
Clark
I
too.
love,
That's because we are exploring the man, right? We're yeah, we
yeah,
get plenty of Superman. We get a ton of it, and I loved it. I'm not complaining there at all, but I do wish there was a little bit more Clark because I wanted to see. Because one thing that I really liked the first time we see the Daily Planet, I was like, "This
mm,
looks beautiful." Oh, I
yes,
just loved how they presented it. The globe and everything looked like modern but nostalgic at the same time. I was like, this is what I'm looking for right here. And so once we started getting that, I wanted to see more of the bumbling Clark Kent with his papers all over the place and sitting at a desk stressing out. And I wanted just a little bit more of that because I like the differentiation of that he does of the two. But again, minimal critique. I just a little more Clark would be nice.
yeah. Saying you wanted more of something is,
Yeah, yeah. It's like,
is
oh, okay. Oh,
the most
give me
positive
more.
critique I think you can get.
Yeah, it's like,
Even like the way he shifted his voice, his voice kind of high pitched, outgoing as Clark, but as soon as he's Superman, it's this like lower register,
oh, when he
not
brings it,
super serious, but you can tell
no.
the shift. And I
uh,
loved that. That was
the
awesome.
my I feel like the definitive part of that was when he sits for his interview with Lois and he goes, Miss Lane. And I was like, oh,
Dude, even in the
that's
trailer
it.
when they showed that, I was like, let's go. That's
Like
awesome.
he's doing it. He's doing the
Love that.
thing.
And
Okay. Do you have a quick question though? Do you think?
yes,
I think there's probably a couple ways they could have done it, or of looking at this maybe. Do you think the glasses are actual hypno glasses, or you think that he threw in the Green Lantern line about that to just be like, "Hey, I'm aware of what some stories say that these glasses are, but they're really just glasses." Do you have
Jameson
thoughts?
confirmed they are hypno glasses.
He did confirm. Okay, I might have missed
So
that one.
it seems like they are, and he does mention that when he's having that conversation with Lois too about he's like, oh, the glasses, no one will notice, and that's like that goes into one of my other critiques is that when Superman gets arrested, no one brings up that that Clark is gone from the Daily Planet. No one,
True. Yeah.
and even Lois, not even a line of Lois being like, oh yeah, Clark's sick or something.
He's
There was
yes,
like no
some brief
acknowledgement of it,
cover. Some brief cover,
and
yeah.
I was like, That's kind of weird that they would bring that up. Again, it's a minor critique, but it was one I
It's
thought of after thinking about the show or thinking about the movie because I was just like
Mhm.
obsessing over the movie.
Yeah,
But the dynamic between Clark and Lois, I thought was so great. The chemistry
the
between
chemistry
David
was really good.
Forthwhit, Rachel Brosnahan, off the charts, and I like how they portrayed them as like a real couple. It's not
The fighting in the apartment,
sunshine and
like
rainbows. There's bickering, there's different viewpoints, but at the end of the day, they know that they're kind of, well, as we find out at the end, their love for each other is what brings them together, and through their differences, they find the beauty in that, and like that's the beauty of like being a person anyway. It's like that our differences between each other should be the things that make us interesting, the thing that makes us individuals. And the fact that, like, that's kind of the end of the day how they decide to like be together, because they're 3 months in the relationship, they kind of are unsure of where it's going. It's at the point where it could get really serious or it could just kind of
yeah,
fall apart. And I liked that they showcased, like, a real couple. It's not everything is perfect. You're gonna disagree on things, you're gonna bicker on stuff. That's just life. And I feel like it's becoming more prevalent now in media, but especially in kind of the comic book medium. It was cool to see front and center, like the two stars of this movie, and they portrayed like a real couple.
yep,
uh that was great. I loved
yeah.
it so much.
Yeah, they give you like right off the bat. It's like, oh, like they're when he gets to the apartment, he's cooking the breakfast for dinner. Nice touch, by the way. Again, not a huge deal, but it's like I forget which storyline it is, but we're like Superman does Clark does like eating breakfast for dinner. It's the that chemistry right off the bat when like he's cooking for her, but then like he lifts her up and they're kissing on the counter, and then within the whole same scene, it's she gets into I knew this wouldn't work type thought process, and I'm like, because it is fresh, it's tough, and it's they're giving you a real relationship that's not like you said, sunshine and rainbows.
Yeah,
And it was the chemistry just worked really well, and I think that's a it may not seem like such a big deal because a lot of people tend to get focused on how powerful is he, who's the big bad, what kind of how are the fight scenes going to be, what have you. But something as small though necessary is getting that relationship right. Is getting that
for sure.
the Clark Lois has to be cohesive and that chemistry needs to be there. It's important because you can't just he can't just be fighting all the time. He has to be a regular person. So that has to be there, and it totally was.
Moving on to the big bad of this movie, Lex
Segue.
Luthor,
Nice. All
played
right.
by
All
the
right.
the, the great Nicholas Hoult. And a big thing in the superhero genre couldn't be the villain. The biggest kind of problem that can be in some of these movies is the villain.
Yep.
And I think this is probably James Gunn's best villain he's done yet. The thing I liked about it the most is, for one, biggest hater ever, which is what Lex Luthor should be.
Yeah.
For two, he showed how intelligent he was, but also showed
Yes.
how arrogant and reckless
Yes.
he was at the same time, which I
Mm.
love. And
Yeah.
three, it was so great to see things that are going to pay off later. Like
Yeah.
the Raptor suits are going to be close to his suit that he's eventually going to build,
Hmm.
just stuff like that. Where you're like, this is so awesome that this is their first encounter, and it's the
Yeah.
first encounter of many, and you can feel that, and that's so exciting to feel
Yeah.
because
That we don't
I
just
feel
get all that stuff off the bat. Like they're building, they're
yes,
doing all the building, and it's like, yes, build. I wanted the teases are what makes this fun. And you're not just giving me the suit right off the bat, like, and then they just fight and then you go and that's it. Like, no, like this is such a big rivalry that there's so much you can do with it. And they're laying the groundwork for who Lex really is. Like you said, they showed how smart he was. Again, just let me back up real quick. I thought he did a great job playing Lex.
yes,
I, the Jesse Eisenberg just did not do it for me at all.
no,
I'm
no,
sorry. I like him in a couple other things. He's
yeah,
but Lex Luthor was just not for him. Sorry, Jesse, if you're watching. I still like you, man, but Lex was not meant for you. I thought this was played very well. Like you said, I like how they really showed how smart he was. Reckless, of course. He's that's kind of what ties into being a villain sometimes. And I like the money aspect. Like the dude is rich. The dude is
so rich.
like so rich. He's so rich. So like they're like giving you all this, but not all at once. It's like little by little, and they don't. Again, they're not taking you to the top. We're not seeing peak Lex Luthor. We're seeing this we're laying the groundwork here, and it's man, he did a really good job. I really liked it. It's I was kind of, it's he did such a good job that it was surprising to me, like finding out that he was going to audition for Superman. So I'm like, oh man, he did such a good job with Lex. Like I can't and get close to seeing that. You know, I liked it a lot. It was really good.
That's I feel like that's such a like wildly meta cool thing because he also auditioned for the Batman that Robert Pattinson got too. So he
Mm,
auditioned for the Batman, he auditioned for Superman the same time as David Corenswet.
yeah.
Obviously auditioned and won it, and then he got Lex. Like that's the perfect setup in real life to become this guy that is going
Yeah,
to be the like
the failure, not failure, but like like you're missing out, like it kind of
overlooked
get
almost.
overlooked. Yeah, and it's like that's exactly what he wants in the movie. He doesn't want
Yep.
Superman to be, that's what he wants. He's like, I want this. I deserve this. I'm smart enough to do this. And they give you that when he's like, oh, I built this. I built the access to this pocket dimension, and that's where I think it gets not safe. That's where they step away from getting into that whole world, which was cool because then they take you back out and like so then it's still a threat, but you're still very much like they don't focus. I think if they focused way too much on that, then people would be like, this isn't familiar to me. I don't know. But he's like, no, I did this. This is my brain at work, kind of thing, and it was a
Yeah.
good because my only concern was going to be, and part of what I just didn't like how Jesse Eisenberg portrayed the character, but I also like I don't think his voice was there. I didn't, but I also thought he was just kind of too young. There was this too much. It just
Kid
seemed
like.
too kid like. Like I know that Henry Cavill's not like old, but I just felt like there was too much of a gap. Like they need to be a little bit closer. It just
Age.
seemed unbelievable. Yeah, and in age, and this felt a lot more natural. I think like not he's not some old man. He's not some
No.
like old man that's like barely hanging on, and he's not like a teenager either. Like
Yeah.
it's just a good healthy spry evil, if that makes
Oh yeah.
sense.
No,
Yeah,
a
it was
100% it does. And I liked that they had like Mr. Terrific, another genius, rich individual
mhm,
who comes in and kind of is the counter explanation to the pocket universes. He's kind of the one who's like, this is a really dumb idea. And he's like, but this makes
yeah,
sense with Lex. He does all these crazy out of the box scientific experiments that 9 times out of 10 aren't for the greater good of anyone other than himself. So that
sure,
was like a
yeah,
nice parallel of having both there out of all the members of the Justice Gang. And I really like the Justice Gang and all. And I liked it when I first heard that they were going to be called the Justice Gang. I was like, that sucks. But then once I heard in the context of the movie, when like Hawk Girl's like, that's not really our name. Like I was
no,
like,
that's not the
okay,
name. We're not.
that's
He's like,
fine.
yeah, they're playing
It's
into
just
the
Guy
no,
Gardner being
that's
a douche.
yeah,
But Mr. Terrific was definitely my standout. He's so sick,
he
undoubtedly
was
cool.
great.
And I loved Nathan Fillion as Guy Gardner. I'm stoked he's going to be in. There's a new Lantern series coming up, and
Yep,
he's going to be kind
yeah,
of a side character in that. He's going to be in Peacemaker season 2 because he was in the trailer. So is Hawk
yeah,
Girl.
yeah,
So it's nice. Like, and that's the cool thing about this. Like, this universe already feels so connected, and
yes,
and I love Marvel. I love the MCU.
of course,
But a big problem with the MCU is that there's all these instances where things happen, and you're like, why isn't this person here?
yeah.
And
Why are these people missing?
obviously the
Where have they
realistic
been?
thing is that there's schedules and they're not going to bring in this actor to do one scene, blah blah blah. But like James Gunn is taking the time to do that already from the jump, and that is awesome. I
Hmm.
like love that. Like it already feels like this connected, cohesive universe from the jump, and I feel like
Yeah,
that's so important. He's setting a precedent, and that's awesome. But
yeah. It's not like where do we go from here? It's like he knows where he's going. He's already building this.
yeah,
It's already kind of you see it spreading out. That's with the Peacemaker stuff, with the Green Lantern stuff. Like it's already spreading outwards. It's not just Superman monolith question marks. It's like the seeds are already planted. We're moving along here.
exactly.
Yeah, so it already feels very much like okay, getting an idea of what this universe is going to be. And again, Batman could change a lot of things here, and he's even said the other stuff that's coming down the pipe, like Swamp Thing and the handful of projects he has coming, like they're all gonna have different feels. Oh, Clayface, that'll be interesting. That'll be fun.
Clayface, yeah,
But they're all gonna have different feels to them, and so I'm curious to see how all those tie in also, though. But right now, it's still it already feels cohesive, and that's like it's good. I think it's one of Marvel's weaknesses right now. It's, but
for sure. Yeah,
it's not terrible. Like they come up with
no,
explanations, and sometimes they work, sometimes they don't. But But this is why this is the breath of fresh air. It's because we're starting off strong and with a vision, and he knows where he's going. That's why I'm like, that's why the big thought in my head is, like I said earlier, give James Gunn the keys to the kingdom, because like he's opening up this door to a whole universe, a literal universe, and
Yeah.
he's it's just starting off strong.
Yeah, and that's the other thing that got set up in this movie is Supergirl.
Yeah.
Supergirl makes a cameo in this movie, played by Millie Alcock, and
Mm.
her movie comes out next year. He just posted the first like promotional poster for it, and instead of "Look Up" was the theme of this movie. "Look Out" the
Mhm.
theme for Supergirl.
She's drunk as hell.
Yes, and there's a very big reason to why she's like that. If no one has read Tom King's Woman of Tomorrow comic run, I highly suggest it, because it's a pretty dark story. It's a very tragic story. The story of Kara is pretty brutal, and she has a very different experience than what Clark had. And the drunkenness and him explaining, oh, she goes and parties on planets with red suns because those are the only
Yeah.
planets she can get drunk because
Yeah.
her powers get taken away. I'm not going to spoil what it is, but you can go spoil it for yourself if you want to. Tom King actually helped write the script for the movie, which is also very exciting to have comic creators fully involved with the world of these adaptations. That's awesome, and I love that. And the director is Craig Gillespie, and he did I, Tanya, Cruella. So he's getting these like really talented creatives involved behind the scenes too, which is very, very exciting. And
Mhm.
I'm excited to see more Supergirl. Millie, I just watched the show Sirens on Netflix. It's a limited series. It's only 5 episodes, super short. But
Okay.
Millie Alcock was one of the main characters in that. She's obviously very well known for House of the Dragon. She played the younger version of Rhaenyra
Right.
in that as well. And I'm excited to see her tackle this. If you missed it in the teaser poster, there's some blood on her hands. She gets in some brawls because she's
She's having a great time.
drunk partying on alien planets. And
Yeah.
what I loved about this connection and kind of lead into her movie is that it's predicated on Crypto. And in this
Mhm.
comic, Crypto is her dog. And he even says in the movie, he's like, what's kind of a foster situation. And then that's
Yeah. Yeah.
paid off with this cameo. And that's why, while it is setting up something, it didn't feel like it was forced in setting up something, because it
No.
flowed naturally with the story. And what a great way to get people to buy into this movie that know nothing about Supergirl than to
Mhm.
be like, yeah, Crypto's coming back and he's going to be in Supergirl. Like, that's
Yeah. Yeah.
genius.
Well, yeah, because
Utter genius.
we've never had crypto, live action crypto before. So crypto was utilized in not just a like, oh, here's the annoying dog situation. Like
Yeah.
there were jokes at the dog at the dog's expense, of course, but like crypto was helpful. Like a
For sure.
nuisance, but super helpful. Like it was a fun balance of like, is the dog gonna get him in more trouble, or is he gonna help? And and in most cases it's help, but the usage felt appropriate. It wasn't too little, it wasn't too too much, and the explanation was nice that like crypto's misbehaved because of Supergirl, and it's also a tie-in. So like
Yeah.
it explains the dog, but also gives us the introduction to her. Like it was the
Yeah.
connection was just great. It's like that's just really good writing, I feel like.
Yeah. The line of when he gets himself arrested and goes into the pocket dimension, into the,
Mhm.
Lex's crazy jail. And he's talking about, he's like, yeah, he's not even really a good dog, but he's alone and he's probably scared. I was like,
Yeah.
damn.
Yeah.
As a dog owner, like,
Yeah.
like
You're
that
like,
hits you.
nope,
And,
I know that feeling.
everyone has those days with their dogs, and you're like, you're being a little shit. Stop being a
Yeah.
little shit. Okay. Everyone
Stop
has
it.
those days. But
Not
at the end of the
today.
day, they're the best,
Yeah.
and like anyone being like, oh, Crypto is just an annoying dog. And I'm like, I don't think you've owned a dog. Like, this
Yes.
is like what owning a dog is
Dogs are
like.
not perfect all the time. They're just not. They can be annoying. Like
It's,
they just
I
can be.
love that.
It's
I love that it's based on a version of one of his James Gunn's
James
dogs, and they
Gunn's
just
dog.
made, another indication of him making a full CGI character look and feel incredible. You know what I mean? Like, it's an integral part of the story. It doesn't feel ancillary. I mean, and that's like, a lot of people were worried, is there going to be too many characters in this movie? And there is a lot of characters. There's a lot going
And
on in
there
this movie.
are, but I never
But
felt overwhelmed.
no, they all serve a purpose to the plot, which is
Yeah.
awesome. I love that. And it adds to the point we were talking about before, where it's like it adds to this lived in world, this expanded universe.
Mhm.
And without giving us their crazy origin stories. It just gives us a sense of who they are as a character. And that's all we
Yeah.
need right now.
Yeah, that's all I need.
It's the perfect introduction, and then we'll see more of them later on, and then that's how we'll get to learn more of them as we go along and progress in this new universe. And that's exciting. It's exciting to have this feeling. It's exciting to see so many people positive about a DC project, which
Mhm.
of course it happened with the Batman, because that movie's awesome.
Yeah, it's
But
great.
it was different because like that's his own thing. It happened with Joker too, in a way, but again, it was like that was his own thing.
Yeah.
Not so much the second one, but with the first one, definitely. But it wasn't the same as like, they're cool. There's these hits where they're trying to do this connected universe that really isn't working. Some movies work, most really don't, so
Yeah.
it's cool to be like, we know it's a fresh start and everyone's pretty much on board and ready
Yeah.
to go. And they're like, I can't wait to see more. Even the people that have been kind of like, not even negative, but kind of like mixed positive are like,
Mhm.
I still like the movie. I was just expecting something different, which is fine. It's just cool to see people positive about DC.
Yeah. Yeah, it's because 'cause
It's
it's
a
been a minute.
cool thing to
It's
see.
There just hasn't been a whole lot of stuff to be positive about. I mean,
For sure.
it and I try to be as it can be really easily just loving this stuff. It can be really easy to fall into the trap of like, "Oh, I loved it. It was great." So when some people are like, "What are you talking about? This was clearly not that great. Like this plot hole X and this character Y and whatever." Like, well, that's true. Yeah, yeah. It can get really easy to be sucked in and just like love it right off the bat because it's a comic book movie and it's a superhero you're
For
familiar
sure.
with, and they can do no wrong sometimes. But I mean, very clearly they can't. Some of these movies can do wrong, and like
Yeah.
it sucks sometimes because I was a big fan of Joker, big fan of Joker, but I haven't even watched the second one.
It's
I've read
really
too many. I've read too
fine.
many. It's pretty fine.
It's
It's it,
aggressively okay.
aggressively okay. Just really pummels you in the face with mediocrity.
The problem with it is that some of the reactions to it, I think, were overblown. It's not the worst
Hmm.
thing I've ever seen, but it definitely leaves a lot on the table and definitely begs the question to like, this didn't need to be made. They could, because it
Yeah,
was Joker was planned to be one movie. That's it.
yeah, that's what it was supposed to be.
And then it made $1 billion. Then it won a few Oscars, and they're like, let's make a sequel. And
Yeah,
that can be not always. Sometimes it works out when something gets popular and it carries on. Sometimes it works out, but most time it doesn't. And in this case, it didn't. I
yeah,
was hopeful that, Lady Gaga, I think, is a great actor in her own
yeah.
right. So I
Hmm.
was like, that's a cool addition. She'd
Yeah,
probably be a great Harley Quinn. But a
yeah.
lot of what the movie is trying to set up doesn't really capitalize on it. It's just a bummer. You don't need to watch it. It's kind of a
No,
waste of
it's yeah, like you can, but you won't get that time back. What I thought was because, and honestly, I think I'm at a point where it should have just been the one, and we could have been like, man, this was great. That was one where I left the theater like I felt kind of icky a little bit.
Oh,
Like
for sure.
I was me and my friends were silent. Like we we're going back to hang out at one of our houses, but like the car ride back was just like contemplative. It was like, what did we just
Yeah.
see? It was, oh man, and it just hit really hard. I was like, this is fantastic though. That's what I want. I want something to punch me in the gut like that. I you
Yeah.
know, and then when it was like a time for a sequel, I was like, okay, what you could do, what Todd Phillips could do is like, because the whole thing was playing off of, not that we're deviating from Superman here, but this as an example of like how things can go wrong. Here you go, kids. Like, instead of just leaving it alone, you're contemplating. The whole thing was like you don't really know what Joker's origin is, so he could have made sequels and done different origin stories and have that be this whole meta conversation about like you
For
still
sure.
don't know. I've given you like three or four of these movies now, and you still don't know which one's the real one, if any of them. You could have done that,
Yep.
but you did this. You did this, and that's like that plot is like laying on the table for you if you wanted to make these
Yep.
sequels and do. And Joaquin Phoenix did a fucking great job. I loved it.
You did.
He, great Joker with cool real world explanations for stuff. I loved it, but
Yeah.
when you don't utilize the stuff that's already there
Yeah.
properly, you have source material to go from, and if you don't use it properly, this can happen. I think that James Gunn knows his source material very well, and I think he's using
Oh,
it
yeah.
properly. I can't speak for the future. Maybe he goes on a rampage or something and starts screwing up. But like right now, he's doing it. He's proving himself more than he already has.
Yeah, and I think just like you were talking about with Joker, where you left the theater and you felt kind of icky and
Mhm.
probably borderline uncomfortable from Joker. That makes sense.
Yeah.
When I left this movie, I felt I had the dumbest smile on my face, like, the
Yeah, I
majority of
felt
this
so
movie.
hopeful. I felt really hopeful and happy. I felt
Yes,
happy. I was like, "Yeah, yeah."
and the coolest part of this movie to me is the whole, like, maybe punk rock is, being a good
Mhm.
person, basically,
Yeah,
is
yeah.
kind of the premise of this whole movie, and I know some people have found that corny or cheesy or whatever, but I think and it's obviously James Gunn is a massive music nerd.
Yeah.
And he likes a lot of alternative music. He has worn a 4 Year Strong shirt
Mhm.
in different like promo stuff for DC. He's included bands like Go Bordello and Foxy Shazam, like these cool like alternative bands. And I love that he, took the first and arguably biggest superhero ever,
Yeah. You could make
and
that
he made
argument.
it an allegory for punk rock, and he made it into a thing. And it's the same thing as Superman. Obviously, Superman is this like all powerful being, but he creates himself in this image to make it approachable and make it seem not as scary. And, to the normal person, alternative music, hardcore, metalcore can seem rough around the edges, very scary. Oh, they're screaming. It's so angry.
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, like, it's all about community. It's all about
Mhm.
finding a home when you're an outcast. And like that's
Yeah.
the Superman story. He's literally one of one on a
Yeah.
planet where he's just trying to do good and bring people together. And like I love that James Gunn like made a thing being like, yeah, this stuff may seem scary to you, but it's fine and it's all for the greater good. And I just love that. And it's like
Yeah.
at the top of the episode, every episode, I say, the most positive pop culture podcast in the multiverse, because as I started doing this stuff and started getting more deep into writing for bigger websites and stuff, like getting access to stuff early and reviewing it and posting my reactions, everyone's like, oh, you love everything, which I think people now know that's not the case
Mhm.
because I've been very vocal about things I don't like. I just like talking about things I like more than things I don't like.
Things you don't
Uh,
like. Yeah, sure. Because then it just you don't wanna seem like a negative Nancy. That sucks. You want things to be good and approachable and likable. Like, not everything's perfect, of course, so you have to voice
no,
an opinion sometimes, but I agree with you. I mean, that's I think what James Gunn is doing and how he's telling the story of what Superman is, like, this is just what the character is, and then I'm sure you've seen all the people up in arms now over what Dean Cain said, and Dean Cain? Okay. Like, I watched that show when I was a kid,
right.
but if that's, who you are now, okay, but, like, this is the people that are like, "Oh, Superman's woke now." Motherfucker, he's been woke since
Stop.
1940 whatever,
Yeah,
like, or
38.
38, yeah, like, he's the whole thing has been about helping people in need, and he is an immigrant from not from this planet, let alone country,
Right.
it's like, this is what the story has always been, and they're, like, the people that are, like, discovering what X-Men was, like, what it's an
Or
allegory for,
Star
like
Wars.
yeah, or like, guys, like, this isn't like, yes, this is very fun entertainment, but that's not just surface level. There are things that we're being told here, and if you didn't get it, that's not on us, that's on you. Maybe you're the shitty person.
So
Yeah.
I love the it's not even like a meme, but it's whatever you want to call it. The thing that's been going around. It's like these things didn't become woke. You just grew up to be a piece of shit.
Yeah,
And I
that's
was
what
like,
yeah,
yeah,
that's the one I keep saying, like, yeah, that's what it is.
nailed
You
it.
need to flip the flip the camera around, look at yourself. Like, I there's no escaping. Like, if you wanna be a shitty person, fine, be a shit no, nobody's perfect, but if you wanna start blaming these stories for being nice and, like, there's hardships in them and stuff, but you're missing the point, and that's on you. Do your homework.
It's the same people who were like, "When did Rage Against the Machine become political?" I'm like, "Since
No.
they started."
It's
What are you talking
only
about?
only since the dawn of time.
When they picked
Yeah.
up their instruments and said, "We're Rage Against the Machine," that's when it's.
We're
I don't.
what do you
What are
think the
you talking
machine
about?
is? What do you think the machine is? Some guy
Yeah,
hitting a robot with a wrench? Come on,
yeah. Some
man.
people are just beyond help. So we got next year. We have Lanterns coming out. We have
Yeah.
Supergirl. We have Clayface. There is other stuff that's been announced that's not fully started yet. But is there an upcoming DC project that you're most excited about?
Probably Batman 2, just because I not that it's gonna connect anything. I know James Gunn has specifically said it's not he's not my Batman.
Yeah.
I think there was one article where he said, not right now, or as of right now, like, of course, fine, leave the door open, but I've liked that whole thing being separate. I loved the Penguin. I thought that was
Same.
great. But I think just being a big Batman nerd is like, I guess I'm excited for Batman 2 whenever that gets written.
The script is done.
The script is
So we're
finished
one
now.
step closer.
Okay, cool. Because last thing I read was like they're still writing it, or they can't figure it out. And I'm like, cool, because I don't want you to rush it and have it be shitty. That's my favorite
Yeah.
character. I want you to do it right. But I think that. But I do want to see though who James Gunn picks. I'm not trying to focus just on Batman, but I love him so much. That's where my sights immediately go. As great as Superman was, can't wait for a sequel. I love that he's already like, we're doing it. Sequel's happening. It's, whenever it happens, sure. But that's where his sights are. My sights are, what are you doing with Batman?
Dude,
Uh,
I'm totally with you. I love Matt Reeves' Batman. I love the Penguin. I just
mhm,
posted an article on Collider about the Penguin.
mhm.
It just got nominated 24 Emmys, and a lot of people are wondering if there's going to be a season 2. So I wrote an article about that. If you want to go to Collider.com, you can check that out. But I wanted to keep it separate because I think tonally, I don't think they'll work together, and I kind of want the DCU Batman to almost feel like kind of how like this, like a lot of people describe this movie as like an episode of an animated series come to life, and
Yeah,
totally agreed for sure. And I kind of want the DCU Batman to feel a little more whimsical, not full like Adam West Batman, but like in the middle of like Adam West and like Bale or Pattinson. Like, he's
there's a area in there that, like, there's a Venn diagram of those Batmen
of both.
that can that
Yes,
can work. And like, I love the dark and brooding. That's what I like. That's why I like Batman. Is I
100%.
like that.
Yeah.
But I agree with you also that I don't see the Matt Reeves Batman and Penguin, that whole universe meshing with
Yes.
bright
Which
colors
is
and
awesome. Yeah.
John Williams esque themes. Like, I don't
Yeah.
see those two worlds. That's why I'm curious what he's gonna do with like everything from here on out. Seeing how things are different but the same. And
Yes.
I it's not my place to figure that out. It's only our job to enjoy it and speculate, because that's what this is for. It's his job to make it happen, and
100%.
I have full trust in him. So I'm excited for all the projects that have been announced, and we can obviously speculate on other things. But the next conversation really, I think, is because if he's building this universe, where I love that we just got like a little bit of the Hall of Justice, like it's being worked on,
Yes.
and like
Built.
we're in
Yeah.
it, but it's not perfect yet. Like, this is what you are literally building. They're literally building it. And
Yes.
I was like, God, that's great. I love this. Like, you can see it, and it makes you anticipate. It makes you want more. Like, don't give us everything, because then what do I don't.
There's nothing
I
left to
feel
go to.
there's nothing left to go to, and I'm satisfied with what we got, but I'm also not satisfied because I want more. And you
Yes.
gave me that, and that's what makes this fun. That's what makes this fun. It's like, even if you know some of the storylines, it's like you don't. It's it's how they're given to us on screen versus in a comic book, and or on the small screen. I always thought that, like, that's where DC had a leg up. I was going to bring this up earlier. DC animated stuff, I feel like, blows Marvel
Oh,
stuff out of the water. I think that there's a lot to work with, and I think that James Gunn really just has his finger on the pulse here, and he knows how to deliver the goods. And so so now that he's building this world, I think one of the big questions is, where does Batman come in? Who's going to be the Flash? Where's Wonder Woman and Aquaman? Everybody, and how do we put all these guys together? Who the actors that are gonna play them? And
yep.
my sights, just being selfish, my sights just go straight to Batman. So that's what I'm looking forward to. I know I'm not gonna get it like next year or anything, but that's now that we're here, the conversations can start of, cool, we've got our Superman. Where's Batman? Let's talk, baby. Where's my Dark
Yeah.
Knight?
He did say that the two things that as soon as they get a good script, they're going to get fast tracked to being made is Batman
Mhm.
and Wonder Woman, which
Yeah.
completes the trinity of DC. So it makes
Yep.
perfect sense. You're not out of line saying like,
No.
"Where's my DC Batman?" And
Yeah,
me
yeah.
as a Batman person myself, I've been wondering that is and like it's exactly what I said. Like I hope we get like a different take than we've gotten in live action, because we've never really
Yeah.
gotten one that's in the middle of those two, like a good
Mhm.
culmination of both. Like obviously Clooney's was way too goofy, and
Yeah.
like Michael Keaton is kind of probably the closest to what I'm talking about, but almost maybe even a little more serious than him. And I do think it's going to be an older Batman a little bit, because Damian Wayne is the talk of the town, and he's already going to be in it. So we're going
Yeah,
to get a little bit, but like a like a more of a middle-aged Batman, which I think is fine. You can get like a mid-30s-year-old guy
because
to
right now we've got a young
play.
Batman right now. We've got
Yeah,
We've got that whole universe, and like that's cool. But like again, we don't need the origin story. We don't necessarily need like
God no.
please fucking don't do it again. Like, there's no way to make it any more dramatic than it's ever been. There's no way to make it sadder. There's no way you can't outdo any of them that already exist, and they're all the same. So just let's just do what we're doing here. It can be a middle-aged Batman. That's fine. I've an introduction of like you said like a Damien would be really cool. This starting off so well, Superman starting laying the groundwork so well sets us up for success, I feel like. And
For
I'm
sure.
trying not to put the cart before the horse here, but I think that I think
Right.
but like because again, there a lot could go wrong, but if we just one thing at a time, trust the process, kind of a thing. Like he's showing us what he can do and that he can do it well. And
Yep.
with that, I'll trust him with Batman and trust him with Wonder Woman. Just gotta be patient. Just gotta be patient.
Yes. 100%. Steve, thank you so much for sitting down and chatting some Superman with me.
Absolutely, man. It was a blast. Happy to be on. Would love to come back.
Anytime. You are welcome back anytime. But before we get out of here, please plug what Within the Ruins has got going on and where people can find you.
So I sing for Within the Ruins. We're on Instagram, Facebook. I refuse to call it X. We call it Twitter. It's
Twitter.
YouTube. We had a new album come out in back in August. It was Phenomena 2. So we're kind of in that album cycle right now. So check out the theme of this video. Check out the music video for The Last Sun about Superman. See some cool nods that I put into the thought process there. And we have some shows at the end of August with our friends in Of Sulfur and doing Michigan Metal Fest with them and Dying Fetus as well. And then we'll see what the rest of the year has for us. But and I'm Steve the Mess, where Instagram and everywhere. So find me, check out the band. Let's have a good time. Let's enjoy our superheroes. Be good people, you know? Listen to good music.
Perfect way to send us off. I'll make sure and link everything down below so you can support Within the Ruins. And if you want to support the podcast, metalcorners.com, all our links there in one easy place. If you want to follow me on my personal account, it's just at SeanXMod, Instagram and Twitter. Until next time, see you later, nerds.